Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and welcome to the Round 10 review. North Melbourne defeating Richmond at the MCG by 4 points this afternoon. North Melbourne 12-6-78, defeating Richmond 11-8-74. Just relief, I think, is the first emotion that comes to mind this afternoon. When the final siren went, I hugged my family, had a bit of a scream, sung the song really loudly, and then as the players made their way around the field and left and punters streamed onto the field for a kick to kick, I just stood in the front row on level 1 at the MCG and just took it all in, to be honest. Yeah. I think a lot of people will be disappointed with the way the game went, and I can understand that for sure, but to win a game of football when your backs have been pushed so far against the wall, and the last 3 weeks you've been inching closer and closer to what feels like 4 points, and the only thing standing in your way is what seems to be your inability to win. You take the 4 points no matter what form they come in. Could we have won by more? Sure. Should we have won by more? Probably. Should we have put the game away by half time? Potentially. I mean, that first quarter is the best way we've started a game for a very, very long time, both in general play and on the scoreboard. But I think the win is a lot bigger and a lot more significant than a lot of people might realise. Our last goal for the game came at the 8.5 minute mark of the fourth quarter. Jack Darling was on the receiving end of a free kick, kicked a goal. The last score for North Melbourne in the game was at the 14 minute mark. Jack Darling kicked a behind. And for 20 minutes between that last Jack Darling goal and the final siren, we just hung in there and weathered the storm. And I don't think the significance of that can be undersold. And I don't think that the ability to weather the storm and just fight through everything that was thrown at us in that last quarter for a side that has let it slip in the last quarter so many times already this season and in the past couple of years as well, I wouldn't be dismissing that easily. I would be looking at that and thinking that's showing fight and character in its own right, because we weren't the hunting today. We were the hunted. The last 3 weeks, we've put ourselves in positions where we've been 3 steps behind our opponents and we've had to fight and find ways to try and win the game. But we had the target on our back after the first quarter, and for 3 quarters it was ugly, it was messy. There were plenty of times I was tearing my hair out, and I'm sure you were too, whether you're at the ground or at home. And there are so many ways, and there are so many times we sit here at the end of that game having lost it. So to not do that the way we did it the last 3 weeks, or drew last week and lost the last couple of weeks, to be the ones walking away, claiming the victory, for a side that's won 1.5 games this year, won 3 games last year and 3 games the year before. We always said that there are 2 or 3 games a year where we probably should have won that game, and this is one of those games, and this is the game we won. Nothing ever overwrites the feeling of winning football games, no matter what shape, size, especially when they come so few and far between. to do it at the MCG for the first time since 2017. On a day that was significant for Richmond, Camden McIntosh in his 200th game. We did it. And I want to start off by talking about Jack Darling, because in the off-season we brought in experience for games like this. He almost won off his own boot last week. And he was monumental today. It's not just in front of goals. He kicked a couple goals. It's his marking. It's his tackling pressure. It's his work rate. Can't undersell how much of an impact he's had in the past few weeks. He had a couple of quiet games. He was very quiet against Carlton and Port Adelaide and Essendon. And at 3/4 time last week, I sat there and thought he's probably a quarter away from being dropped. The last 5 quarters of football from Jack Darling has it's been pretty special. Been pretty special. And he was wearing the double armband today. All players on the field for North Melbourne wore an armband for Jai Simpkins' late grandmother, who unfortunately passed during the week. But JD also had an armband for former teammate and great friend Adam Selwood, who we tragically lost over the weekend as well. And to honour him and his legacy in the way that he did, I'm sure he did the Selwoods proud the same way he did all of us proud at the MCG this afternoon. A stat line of 17 touches, 5 marks, 2 tackles, 4 clearances, and a couple goals for JD was complemented by another excellent game by Cam Zurhaar, who I think has been remarkable in the absence of Paul Curtis over the past 3 weeks. Paul with 4 goals to his name, 4 marks, 2 tackles to go with it. And last week he didn't have the same impact on the scoreboard, but I felt like he was kind of the one getting things started at the beginning of the game. He, again, for me, was the guy getting things started at the beginning of the game. And that first quarter, like I said, is the best way we've started a game all season. We won the first quarter for the first time in season 2025. It's exactly what we needed. It's exactly what we needed to get the game started. And like I said, we put ourselves in a position where we were the hunted rather than the hunting for the first time this season. And we all know that North Melbourne maybe don't perform as well as we would like when there's expectation put on them. And we saw it on Good Friday. I felt like Good Friday we went in, we were even ledger, even playing field, and just couldn't stand up to the pressure placed upon us, actually crumbled within the first 10 minutes. So in a game where we went in probably as favourites and a game where we probably should have won, the club mentally is just not in a position where they're winning games, and we know they're not strong enough to withstand the pressure. So for us to be able to withstand it for 3 quarters, when we knew Richmond were going to fight back, we know they're capable of playing good, exciting footy. All you have to do is watch the game against Carlton in round 1, or over the Easter weekend against the Suns, or even last weekend, they were able to fight out a really gritty win against West Coast. This isn't a side that's playing like they were tipped to this year. They're playing fun, exciting footy. We were going into this season saying, are Richmond even going to win a game this year? I mean, they've blown everyone out of the water and everyone's expectations out of the water. And despite the fact our on-field over the past 3 weeks has been drastically improved, to come out and probably not even play our best footy and still be able to walk away with the win, I'm eyeing off Collingwood next week and thinking, we're always a chance, right? There's my delusion. Just coming straight through and peeking and beaming through the camera. And hopefully you guys are picking that up as well. So it was Cam Zerha getting things started for North Melbourne in the first quarter. And alongside him was Colby McKercher. Colby's definitely had a questionable start to season 2025. We know what he's capable of, and he definitely hasn't looked anywhere near his best, but today was definitely a different story. I feel like his first half in particular was exceptional. He looked very comfortable. He wasn't really putting a foot wrong, and he finished off the game with 22 touches, 4 marks, 10 tackles, 4 clearances, and a really nice goal at the end of the first quarter. He looked lively, he looked energetic, and he really was setting the tone in the middle of the ground. And what he started, LDU finished. I thought LDU's last quarter was enormous, and yes, he kicked a great goal in the opening quarter as well, but I just thought his clearance work in the middle of the ground and around the ground, him trying to really direct traffic and be the guy, be the one to really lead us into the light in the last quarter, I thought was exceptional. And LDU is such an interesting character because I don't think LDU is leadership material, and that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with your best players not necessarily being leaders, and a lot of people pointed out that he wasn't, part of the leadership group when that relook leadership group was announced at the start of the year, but he's never been part of the leadership group because I just don't think that's him, and it's not him. Where the leadership comes is the actions on field, and the way he stood up in the last quarter I thought was sensational. I thought George Wardlaw, the way he was throwing his weight around and his body around as well, was fantastic to see. And Harry Sheasel, he was trying. He definitely is just not having the year that we would hope from him, but he definitely did do some nice things, kicked a wonderful goal, and I think for Shees, it's really just about trying to get him involved, and it was a great move to bring him in the middle of the ground and get him sort of around the ball, and that's kind of what we need from him. And if we can find a way to support him week in, week out, then hopefully we'll be able to help him re-find his best form. Okay, let's talk about the moment, the game-saving mark from the one and only Toby Pink. Hasn't he had a great year? I think dropping him for Griffin Logue earlier in the year was a mistake. He hasn't really put a foot wrong. He's played 4 games now in season 2025, and he's been awesome. And you always want to give someone the opportunity to step up to the plate and to improve and to prove themselves. And he absolutely has done that. And he did that again today. I mean, the mark, I'm going to insert a photo. The mark, I think, is something that we will be thinking about and speaking about for quite some time now. He played 97% of game time, and that mark was one of 6 he took for the afternoon. He had 12 touches and 3 tackles to go along with it. And, great teams don't need to be made up of 23 superstars every single week. It needs to be made up with 23 men who are out there playing their role, knowing what their role is and playing it. And I watched a little bit of the Bulldogs Essendon game last night, and that was spoken about a lot in the commentary, that there are players who probably want to play midfield time, but there's just no room for them there, and they're reinventing themselves. Now, Toby Pink has reinvented his game as a key defender. We know he's a swing man. He played back and forward last year, but his spot was predominantly held in the forward line. So I really think that for him to just accept whatever role the team needs him to play and to execute it so well, that's what it's about. It's exactly the same thing that Dylan Stephens has been doing, and I think that's been a real key to Dylan Stephens' success in season 2025 as well. I know he was always meant to play on the wing, but he's not trying to be fancy. He's not trying to do anything outside of his role and his means. He's actually just doing what he needs to do to help this side flow. I thought Luke McDonald's game was excellent as well, and the way the defense is working at the moment, they're not really working man on man. It looks like we're going for more of a system and more of a zone and more of a back six as a collective. And I think that's working to some players' favour and probably working to some of their detriment. Aiden Court wasn't able to back up his performance from last week. And it seems to me like he has been struggling a little bit with the adjustment. And that's probably the same thing that happened to Griffin Logue. And now, it could take him some time to be able to adapt. But I have no doubt that that is at the forefront of his mind. And I know for a fact that when he had those 2 weeks off, it's something that he's been trying to readjust to. And, after 12 seasons of playing one way, you're coming in and trying to play a different way in your 13th, and it's not necessarily an easy fix. And I understand that there's going to be people who will criticize him after today's performance. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. It wasn't very good, but hopefully with some time, he'll be able to make that adjustment and contribute the same way he did last week against Brisbane. And that there is why I was so happy with us deciding to not make any changes heading into today's game. We drew with Brisbane last week. Going into that game, you wouldn't have thought we would have got anywhere near the Lions. But when you look at it and you look at the side, having some continuity and consistency in the 23 and actually giving them some confidence. I think confidence is such an underrated virtue of this side and what this side needs. A side that's lacked so much confidence over the years, and a side that has really struggled to win games of football. As we've seen so many times, we've snatched defeat from the jaws of victory over the past 2.5 years. Showing the players that you've got a little bit of confidence in them, I don't think goes astray. I don't think you can underestimate that. And I don't think that making changes all the time to this side is what they need. I think the mix we've got there is great at the moment. We will be expecting Paul Curtis to return against Collingwood. And unfortunately, Finbar Maley, who I thought was pretty solid today, will likely be the one to make way for him. Oh, God. I just can't believe we won a game of footy. Because I just didn't even want to think about what would have happened if we didn't. And I guess now it's being able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together and head to Marvel Stadium next Saturday night and just throw everything we can at Collingwood. We've got to bring the excitement and the energy and the drive that we've shown over the past 3 weeks, and the resilience and mental toughness that we showed this afternoon at the MCG, and throw it all together and give the Pies absolutely everything we've got. They are undoubtedly the pace setters in the competition at the moment. And we almost beat Brisbane last week. We've got our win now, and we should be up and about and thinking anything's possible, especially on the back of last year's fixture against the Pies, which we all speak about still to this day as one of the most outrageous things we've ever seen. And I think that's the other thing about today's game. I talk about that game against Collingwood. We let a 9-goal lead slip and lost it by a point. We let a few other leads slip last year. And it didn't happen today. And for a side that hasn't been able to lock down wins for years, really, wouldn't really know what a comfortable win was if it slapped us in the face. It just felt good to get it done today. It really, really felt good to get it done today. And like I said, I don't think that we can deny the magnitude of it, because it wasn't about slamming on goals in the last quarter to close out the game. It was about weathering the storm for 20 minutes and being able to neutralize it when we needed to and stand up when we needed to and find a way to win. I don't even think I need to ask you guys how you're feeling after that one, but feel free to share all of your thoughts in the comments down below. I have no doubt there'll be plenty happy North fans across Australia and across the world this evening. We can continue the conversation as well over on socials, Kanga TV Show on Instagram, Facebook, X, and email as well. Just breathe. Like I said, a sigh of relief, I think, is an overwhelming feeling amongst happiness and excitement and pure joy. It is just such a nice feeling to be back on the winners list and to take this into our round 11 clash against Collingwood next weekend. It is our last game before the bye. We've now got 6 days to just enjoy every moment and bask in the glow of glory before we get ready to go again. We've got some very, very exciting things planned coming up on the channel this week as we look towards that round 11 game. I look forward to seeing you guys during the week. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday night. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and just enjoy the feeling of winning. Go Roos.